Hello. In this video, we're going to be going over assignment number 2, which is over the principles of design. So to start, we're going to walk through what the principles of design are. I've created this presentation that kind of goes over what it is to help you understand. It is on Blackboard, so you can see it there under the assignment. But pretty much I'm going to walk you through what it is, and this kind of correlates with the assignment. So the principles of design are different principles that apply to designs based on a structure or a theme. So the first one is balance. This is the distribution of the visual weight of objects, colors, texture, and space. So if this design was a scale, these elements should be balanced out, at least visually, so that design feels stable. So there's not too much overloaded on the left as the right, or it's not too top heavy or bottom. It's kind of equally balanced out design, right? So that's kind of an example of what that looks like. Unity is the feeling of harmony between all parts of the work of art, which creates a sense of completeness. So all these things are kind of coming together to create something new. They all fit, they all work together. That's kind of what unity is, right? So this is an example of what that kind of looks like. Repetition works with a pattern to make the work of art seem active. The repetition of elements of design creates unity within a work of art. So this could be you take an object and it repeats across a page. It might repeat across multiple pages, but you're just, everybody kind of knows what repetition is, but you're just kind of using that in your design. Proximity in design means that objects near to each other are seen as a unit. These objects feel as if they're a part of the same whole while they're still separate objects. So like these arrows coming together actually creates kind of like a new shape. So the proximity of them means that they come together, but they're still separate objects, right? And so that proximity is what creates something new while it's still four separate objects. Contrast is the arrangement of opposite elements to create visual interest or to make objects stand out. So you can use contrast both with shapes and with color. So for this assignment, you're only using black, white, or shades of gray. So don't add color into it, but you can use white and black as a contrast. Obviously, triangle and circle are contrast to each other. Circle and square is a contrast. So just kind of create a design that shows some contrast. Symmetry is when you cut this in half, it's going to be symmetrical. So think of it if it's like on a sheet of paper and you fold it in half, is each side going to be the same? And on this one, if you cut it across pretty much every way, it's going to be pretty much the same. Especially vertically and horizontal is the main ways we're kind of looking at it. So that's symmetrical vertically and horizontally. Asymmetry is when you have these different visual elements on either side of your design, so it's not symmetrical, but yet you still want it to feel balanced. But this one you cannot cut one way or the other. It wouldn't be symmetrical in any way, right? Dynamic is when elements on the page feel as if they are moving. The viewer's eye moves with it as if it's real, but in reality, these are just shapes on a page, right? But it kind of feels like they're rolling down the hill, but they're not, right? They're just shapes. But you're kind of creating that feel. Stationary is the object when that object on the page feels stationary without any movement. So like this ball feels like it's stuck there in this valley, I guess. So that's kind of what stationary is it feels like there is no movement that's going to be happening. So that is kind of the basics of principles of design. So that goes over all the ones that we're going to be using for this assignment. So for lab assignment 2, you're going to create these following principles of design. So you're going to create a design for each of them. So each one should be on their own slide in PowerPoint. So you'll open up a PowerPoint. On the first slide, put the text balanced somewhere on there. And then you're going to create a design that is symmetrically balanced, right? So it doesn't feel too weighted one side or the other. It's not fully symmetrical, but it is balanced. So as you do these, you can go back and view my presentation to kind of see, okay, what is balance again. There's also examples online, and we'll look at some here in a second. Not all the examples are perfect, but I wanted you to get an idea of what other people have turned in. And then for yourself, you need to make sure that you try to create a design for you that works and that you feel fits. So like I said, make sure you label each one. So the first slide would be balanced, then unity, repetition, proximity, contrast, symmetry, asymmetry, dynamic, and stationary. And then exercise 2, you're going to create one detailed illustration of a functional object. So you're going to pretty much put shapes together to create something real. So like a telephone, a computer, a keyboard, cell phone, a car. Some people have made like a robot, a rocket ship, whatever. But you're going to actually create something with shapes in PowerPoint, right? So I'll show you kind of some examples. There's a bunch online, but I'll show you 3 from last semester that I pulled out from students that had pretty good portfolios. So here's the first one: balance, unity, repetition, proximity, symmetry, asymmetry, dynamic, stationary, and then a functional object. I feel like you can add more detail than this, but they made a chest of drawers. But I do think you can add more detail than this. This is very simple. I think people can do better than that, but that's an example. Here's another one. On this one, she got points off because they did not label it. They put exercise 1, but they didn't put that this is balanced, which is really what it is. So for this one, they didn't put each on its own slide. You can put each on its own slide. You don't have to make the little squares. So do one slide of unity, repetition, proximity, contrast, symmetry, asymmetry, dynamic, stationary, functional object. They made a bed, right? Balance, unity, repetition, proximity, contrast, symmetry, asymmetry, dynamic, stationary, and then functional object. So this one's like more on the high end. She did a very good job on this one. So this is a good example to see. But I'm not expecting this from everybody. But if you're looking to try to match something or to do something, that's a good example, right? So those are some examples. You also have some examples on Blackboard. What I want to do next real quick is I want to make a blank presentation to kind of walk you through what this looks like real quick. So in PowerPoint, just get rid of everything, make it a blank slide. It shows your design ideas, just X out of that because we don't want to use any of those. Let me pull this down so you can see it. There we go. All right, so all you have to do is go insert, go to shapes, and then you're going to pick, let's say you're going to do a square. Make sure it's black or white. You could insert a text box, and this would be right. Put it there. You can include it in your design if you want to, or you can just do it separately. But then you can start adding in your shapes, or just make them all white or black, and then you'll just start to create your design on the page, on that whole slide. And then when you're done, you'll insert a new slide. Make sure to get rid of all that, and then you did the balance first, then you do unity, repetition, and just kind of keep going. But you just do it by inserting shapes. You can use any of these shapes. Don't really use like the smiley face or anything like that. But just kind of use the basic geometric shapes, and then you're going to create your design off of that. So no images, nothing like that. Just use shapes to create your design on the page. If you want to do, like, let's say a square, So let's say you want to do, some people did this, and you do your design inside the square. That's perfectly fine. Um, you can change it to where the shape has a fill of white, and then the outline is black, and then you can make it like super thick, right? And if you want to insert and create your design inside of this, right, you can do that if you need to. So if you want to do it inside of a square, you can do it just like that and then leave your text over here. That's fine, or you can fill the whole slide for this. It really doesn't matter. Now if you're going to do a square, I don't want it to be like here, right? Actually make it fill the whole slide, but you can do it that way if you'd prefer to have a box to work in instead of just the whole slide, but that's up to you. So that's what we're doing from Principles of Design. So make sure you take your time, do a good job, look at all the examples that I have on that I just showed you. There's a bunch on Blackboard. Look at those examples to give you some help, and that's it. So you'll have a good day, and hopefully if you have any questions, always email me, but look at those examples because they really help.